Starfield. The game that has been in tons of controversy. From being, from the loading screens to the non-essential NPCs looking weird, to just some weird glitches and bugs. This game has been bashed on the internet. For example, you can't be scrolling through YouTube for a long time until, if you're looking for Starfield stuff, for example, I was just looking for, I looked up literally positive Starfield review, and a few videos down was a completely negative review. Thank you, YouTube. Now, it is no secret, though, that the majority claim that this game is bad, but there is also a fan base for this game as well. This is the first major Bethesda new IP in 23 years. Wow, that's crazy. And so now I want to share my opinions, but I want to make something very clear before I get into how this video is going to work. This is not a bashing. This isn't a spoiler review either, but this is not a bashing or a praising of the game. It is going to be my honest thoughts, and if you don't like that, you can leave. Okay? So, yeah. If I say something you don't like, that's just my opinion. I'm not gonna change my opinion because you don't like it. And heck, maybe I'll even change your mind. So I'd recommend sticking around. And with all that being said, let's get into how this review is gonna work. Now, instead of me just doing the whole, oh, this is good, oh, this part, I like this part, but I don't like this part, I'm gonna do something a little bit unique. I'm going to compare Starfield to what's commonly seen as the last good Bethesda game and what's commonly seen as the last bad Bethesda game. Fallout 76 is not included. Fallout 4 and Skyrim. Skyrim being the good one. Now, here's how it's gonna go. There are 3 tiers, and each tier has sections. The first tier will be what I call the general tier. Basically, talking about stuff all 3 games have, like campaigns, characters and companions, stuff like that, how that works, voice acting, how the skill trees work in each one, and the world building. How are the worlds? Are they fun to play around in? Stuff like that. And then the second tier is what I call the one-on-one tier. Basically, it's a tier where, it's a certain part of the game that only, say, the powers in Starfield. I will be comparing the powers of Starfield to the powers of Skyrim, because besides that, Fallout 4 doesn't have any. And, of course, the gunplay, because Skyrim doesn't have combat. Let's just be completely honest. The little combat it does have is, well, what combat, am I right? But, yeah. And then the final tier will be the exclusive stuff tier. Basically, the stuff Starfield does by itself. And yeah, then at the end, I'll do a little summary, and then I'll give Starfield a numbered review. And heck, you know what? I'll give Skyrim and Fallout 4 a numbered review as well. And yeah, but before we really get started, I like to say that the background footage, unfortunately, is not mine. If you want to watch it, go into the link in the description. You can watch all the footage. But if you guys want to see what my characters were for each game, for Skyrim, I have a she-elf, and the name will be on the screen because I forgot. It was some elf name, and I really like this character. You know, Skyrim was my first Bethesda game, and I really liked it. The character that I made. And for Starfield, I have Chad him. You can tell I made it with my friends. They're idiots. But he looks like a Giga Chad, and yeah, this is his thing. And for Fallout 4, I made it I decided to play after, like, I think it was the day of or the day after the Fallout 4 or the Fallout TV show trailer released, and I tried to make the girl look like the girl from the TV show, and I don't see a difference. Her name's Lucy, but yeah. Without further ado, though, let us begin. Let's start with the general tier. Now, in the general tier, we'll start with the campaign, specifically the main campaign. Now, how's the main campaign in Fallout 4? It's garbage. I'm not even gonna sugarcoat it right now. It's very, very bad. I think that's a good word for it. It's bad. So it's basically, what if? Now hear me out. What if Fallout 3 is Fallout 3? You know, we take Fallout 3's campaign and reverse it. Wow. I know. What a shocker. Now, I'm gonna talk about this more, but I think that Bethesda really wanted to make an action game because the stories are not that good. The different like, even the side campaigns are just mid. Like, there's nothing that really gets me going, really. Like, the character, like, okay, we'll talk about the characters later, but the main, you know, it's an RPG, or supposed to be, but the emphasis is supposed to be on the story, and the story just isn't interesting to me. It's just Fallout 3's story, and it's reversed, and it's not even that good. Like, if you're gonna take Fallout 3's story, at least make it good. And the side campaigns, like all the settlements or whatever they're called, are really lame. You know, it's just the side. At least it does have multiple endings. Okay, I'll give it that. It has multiple endings, but that's a Fallout staple. It's supposed to have multiple endings. And also, it kind of forces you to be the good guy. Be the good person. And if you play Fallout, you know, like, that's like two people do that. And I'm one of those people, but, you know. Yeah, so bad campaigns overall. What about Skyrim's campaign? It's, well, I'll let this meme describe it. Yeah, it's pretty mid, in my opinion. Now, the main campaign basically is, you're about to get executed by the Empire, and then the big dragon stops you from being killed. So then you're told to go warn the White Worn Jarl, and then when you do, oh, there's a dragon, but you absorb its soul. And then you get called by the Greybeards, and it turns out you're the Dragonborn. Basically means you can speak the tongue of a dragon, and basically have all these cool superpowers that you will be able to use later. And it's fine. And then the rest of the game is basically a wild goose chase, trying to kill this stupid dragon. And yeah, there's some cool lore bits, but it's just kind of mid overall. I mean, it's great showing you how the game works, but there's nothing really that's gotten me to do stuff. Like, for example, one of the first missions is you go into a cave and you have to collect, I forgot what it was, see, that's how much I care. And it's not there, it's stolen. It's just like, okay, why? I don't care about this. Why is this a big deal and it's stolen? And we'll come back to that. But yeah, I feel like nothing has a big emphasis. Maybe that's just me, but like I said, it's my opinion. What about the side campaigns? How did they go? way better. There is only one complaint I have, but it's only with like a couple, but let me just sing its praises real quick, because Skyrim's one of my most favorite RPGs of all time. The side campaigns are bloody excellent. Like, for example, the Thieves Guild questline was awesome, in my opinion. Also, I know this is an unpopular opinion, but I really did like the Companions questline. It was my first questline I beat, and I spoiled it, but sorry about that. I'll probably cut that out, but it was just excellent. I love it. I love it. Just my favorite game. Just has some of the best side campaigns. But there is one problem, one issue. So, it was very rare of you to even be the Dragonborn, right? Like this is a rare thing that doesn't happen that often. And then you're the Dragonborn, right? Rare thing. But then in a certain questline that I won't spoil, you're also the chosen one, and you're the only one that can speak to this certain person. I won't spoil anything, but I feel like that kind of takes me out a little bit. Like, I'm immersed in the world, but then it takes me out when I'm like also the chosen one in this thing, and it's just like, it kind of takes me out. And I never really liked that. I mean, yeah, I'm the Dragonborn and super powerful and stuff. According to Death Battle, the Dragonborn can beat the person from the Souls games. So I'm uber powerful. That makes sense. But like, also I'm the chosen one for this other thing. Like, yeah, okay, that's a stretch. But besides that, and it's only in like a couple campaign missions, and some of them are even short. But I just love the side quests. The side quests are great. And but how does Starfield stack up between mid to terrible and mid to amazing? I'm gonna say something, and I think a lot of people are gonna hate me for this, but I think I think that Starfield's main campaign is the best Bethesda campaign, or one of the best, maybe besides like Morrowind, though I have to play that more to see, and maybe even Oblivion, but has one of the best Bethesda campaigns. I don't do this. If you ask any person who plays Bethesda RPGs, they would say, don't bother with the main campaign. Just go play the side stuff. That stuff's always the best stuff. And I would agree with that, but Starfield's the only exception. The campaign is really good. And to show you why I think that way, like half of the campaign, you're searching for rocks, essentially. Yeah. Some of the campaign, you're going to planets, getting rocks, and getting superpowers. And I know that sounds very boring. It sounds like a collectathon, but what makes it interesting is the variety and what happens in between after you collect a rock. So basically, how the main campaign starts is you are mining, you mine this mysterious rock and you get knocked out. You basically get an out-of-body experience, and then your team leader comes in and is like, what happened? And then this guy from named Barrett from a place called Constellation is like, hey, you need to take this rock back to Constellation. So you do, and basically you go on this huge quest to get the rocks. You also find out you have superpowers. And there are tons of twists and turns along the way. And I know that's crazy, right? But remember what I said earlier about how when we lost that thing, that MacGuffin in Skyrim, and I didn't really care? Because there was no emphasis on the MacGuffin. It was just like, oh, go get it. And I'm like, oh, okay. But here, these rocks, you're trying to figure out what they do when they all come together. Okay? You're trying to figure out Like, there's something about them. Like, you don't just touch a rock and then get an out-of-body experience. You know, that doesn't happen often, surprisingly. So, like, these artifacts, not even really rocks, but these artifacts, they're very important. And the campaign puts a heavy emphasis on how important they are. You do not only going to planets and picking them up, but also doing side missions with your companions and Constellation and meeting all these other characters. And that also, you know, puts a heavy emphasis on it, because these things are valuable. Almost every time you have to go with one of your companions, it's like a huge deal. You're running into trouble almost every time. That just goes to show they put a heavy emphasis on this stuff, and that's what I like. That's what makes collecting these artifacts so fun and kind of important. There's an emphasis on it. It's not just pick up rock, okay, go to the next one, and then you do it. You go to these planets and explore a bit. Yeah. And the same thing with powers, but powers are a whole different story. We'll talk about that later. And what about the side campaign? The side campaigns. They're great as well. You know, usual Bethesda, the great side campaigns. For example, one that really just stayed with me, and if you play this game, you know, it's the Crimson Fleet one. That main campaign, or that side quest or side campaign, really stuck with me. It was really good. Like, it was just really good. You need to play it. And I also like how they give you tons of options. Like, you be a bad guy or a good guy or neutral. Now I know that I just said tons of options and I just said that. But yeah, like, it's not just like Fallout 4 where you have to be the good guy or whatever. You can actually be the bad guy, or you just can be neutral. That's what I like about the main campaign. Also, the main campaign is a bloody excellent surprise. Like, seriously. I won't spoil it, but I'm just gonna say this game has a new game plus. But yeah, great campaign. So I'm gonna rank them real quick. Fallout 4 is last. Skyrim is second, followed closely by Starfield. Or it's closely, like, Starfield and Skyrim are neck and neck. If Skyrim didn't have such a mid campaign, I'd probably say it's better. But that's probably my rose-tinted glasses talking. Alrighty, next one. Characters and voice acting and companions. Basically, this is also your dialogue options. Let's start with those. I'm gonna go rapid fire through all of them except companions. Let's start with Fallout 4. And if you know anything about this game, you know that your character is voice acted. Yay! Yes, in an RPG, your avatar is voice acted. Hooray! And this is an issue that it doesn't just plague this game, but it also plagues Telltale, like Telltale games, those narrative games, is the dialogue options. They're drab. They are not good. They're usually not that good because they're so basic. It's like, literally, there's like yes and no. What does that mean? And then sometimes your character talks in a different tone than you mean. Like, for example, it could be like, how are you? And I was a girl in this one, so it could be like, she would be like, well, I guess I'll ask, how are you? You know, it's just like, you don't know what tone they're gonna be. That's the issue. And they're still basic, and that's the issue that plagues Telltale games, in my opinion. But that's a discussion for a different time. And that's what this game feels like, really. A Telltale game, but with action. Not an RPG, in my opinion. But The voice acting, if I can give Fallout 4 some credit, one of the biggest things that I took away from it after my short playthrough was it has some of the best voice acting, bro. For example, when you meet your robot butler, for the first time in 200 years, brought a tear to my eye. I ain't gonna lie. Bloody great. The voice acting was bloody excellent. Yeah. Just great. And yeah, so what about Skyrim? How's Skyrim? It's great. It's awesome. Of course, the options, your usual RPG affair. And when I say that, I don't mean to like discredit Skyrim, or I'll say the same thing about Starfield. Spoiler alert. It's not to discredit those games. It's that I'm just being all like, your standard RPG affair. There's nothing wrong with that. And it's great. The voice acting, everyone knows the whole. I'm not gonna dance around the person that took an arrow to the knee or anything, but yeah, the voice actor, there's like 5 voice actors in this game, but hey, none for your characters, so there you go, it's already better than Fallout 4. I can actually put myself in the character, but yeah, there was like everyone, like not everyone, but a lot of them sound the same, and it's weirdly charming, honestly, but it can get distracting at times. But I give it a pass because at least it didn't give your character voiced lines. I can't believe I'm saying that, but here we are. And what about Starfield? Now, Starfield, again, I'd say it's on par with Skyrim when it comes to that stuff. And, well, I think the voice acting is, I wouldn't say better, because I really do like the voice acting in Skyrim. I'll say they're about similar. Now, yes, there are way more voice actors, but, like, the guys that play in Skyrim have such great passion, and, like, there's the reason why there's tons of memes involving, like, the guards. They really, the voice actors really put their heart and soul into it. So, yeah, I respect that. But, yeah, it's kind of a mix of Fallout 4 and Skyrim, where it has Skyrim's, dialogue options, and it has Fallout 4's multiple voice acting. And the voice acting's stellar, like in Fallout 4, but, didn't make me cry yet. Well, it almost did once, but that's a spoiler for the main campaign. But, yeah. Very good. But there is one thing I want to talk about in more detail. Companions. Now, companions are kind of legendary in Bethesda games because you never know what they're going to do in all honesty. But I have an issue with them in Skyrim specifically. Now, I don't know about Fallout 4, but I think it's the same from what I've seen. Companions feel like bodyguards. Silent bodyguards. And I'm not just talking about the ones you pay. Like, that makes sense for them not to do anything, but if, like, for example, I'm going on a main campaign, I'm going on a main quest, and then it's just, they just, after I collect them as my companions, they stop talking, and I have to talk to them. And it kind of takes you out, you're like, you've known this person throughout the quest line, and then once you collect them as your companion, they just stop talking. And they only talk to you if you do their dialogue options, and then once you exhaust that, there's nothing new to add. But what about Starfield? And this is my favorite part of Starfield. This is the thing that Starfield got right. In my opinion, the biggest thing it got right. The companions. Now, you can only have one companion at a time, and yeah, there's only like 20, or I think, or something like that. But they're excellent. They talk about their surroundings. Like, like, you're in a ship, right? We'll take Sarah as the example. You're in a ship, right? Sarah will comment on, oh, this place is nasty. And they can butt into conversations. You can use them in conversations. If you do something, they have a reaction. If you do something they like, you know, it says they like that, and it will build your relationship with them. If you do something they dislike, it says they dislike them. And if it's major, they'll have a fight with you. And then if you get there, if you get to know them better, they'll start opening up to you, maybe about their past or whatever, and you can do a campaign. And I haven't played any other campaigns of the companions, but Sarah's campaign is bloody excellent. And then you can romance them or make them be your best friend, and it's great. Just bravo. They really fixed the companions in this game. Like, okay, if you take anything away from this review, the companions are great. They are excellent. Best companions in any RPG so far. Then again, I haven't played Baldur's Gate, and I heard the companions are insane in there as well. But yeah, excellent. Yeah, so the rankings will go Fallout 4 in last, followed by Skyrim and Starfield, neck and neck. Why do I put them neck and neck? Because, what the heck, Starfield goes up because of its companions. The companions are excellent. So yeah, Starfield's first again. Alrighty, so the next one is the skill tree. What's an RPG without a skill tree? And the skill tree, let's start with Fallout 4's. It's actually, okay, but before I continue, let's talk about what I define as a good skill tree. This is my definition. A good skill tree is one that's easy to understand, but it also rewards people for doing the tasks for that specific skill. Like, I'm talking like, say, lock picking. I lock pick, okay, and it rewards me by letting me spend points on that specific skill. You know, make it challenging, and as you grow in that level, the challenge it gets harder to get those points. That, in my opinion, is a good skill tree. Fallout 4's skill tree, easy to understand, but it has the issue of, like, easy to understand. You have your rows. It's on this map, and it has a little cartoon guy, the Vault Boy. I said cartoon guy. Please forgive me. And very simple, but it has the issue of you get a skill point, and you can get a skill point from doing whatever, and then you can spend it on whatever you want. Doesn't matter. If you kill the guy with your gun, you can spend it on science. Now, I won't knock it against Fallout 4 because that's what Fallout's always done. And I'm personally not a humongous fan of that. In my opinion, I'd rather get rewarded for doing the skill, by getting points to spend on that skill. But whatever. So, what about Skyrim? Skyrim is the complete opposite. It is confusing. I didn't truly understand it until, after watching tons of videos about Skyrim and and playing the game. I think I finally understand how it works. But it's kind of complicated for me, but basically there is a general, your general level, and then you have those other smaller levels like lockpicking. I'll take lockpicking for example. Two-handed weapon, one-handed weapon. Shield. You have all those, and then once you do that skill, you get a skill point to use on that chart, basically. Something like that. I'm gonna be completely honest with you guys. I don't even know. I could be talking out my butt right now. It's confusing to me, in my opinion. But what about Starfield? I think Starfield is a great mix. A mix of it's simple to understand, but it also rewards me for doing that skill. And in my opinion, I think that is a really good skill tree. So let's take weightlifting. Basically, you can store more stuff in your inventory. So the first one, so you get a skill point for doing whatever, getting XP, the usual. And the first tier, there's 4 tiers for each badge, or ranks is what they call them. The first rank is free. You can spend it, you don't have to do anything. But if you want to continue going down the weightlifting ranks, you have to do these little challenges they set. For example, you have to get almost full inventory. I think it's like 90% full, and you have to run a certain distance, not like walk or jog. You have to sprint a certain distance, and then you get to upgrade it. Basically, once you get another skill point, then once you do that challenge, you can upgrade it. And I really like this. It rewards players for actually doing the skill, and if they want to get better at the skill, they have to do it and use that skill. And it's very, kind of like real life, where you do something more, then you get rewarded by knowing more about the skill. And I really like that. That's why I think those are my favorite skill trees. So, yeah, same as last time. Fallout 4, last place, Skyrim, and then followed by Starfield. Now, I know it sounds like I'm kissing Starfield's behind, but here's where Starfield's wonders start to cease. In the world building. Now, this isn't just how big is the world or how many cities are in it. What about the people, the NPCs, all that. And I gotta say, Fallout 4 was, how do I say this? Was not interesting, I guess, for me personally. I was not interested in it. I didn't really care that much about it. I know I've been bashing Fallout 4, but we'll get to the stuff it's good at, because when it's good at something, it's good at something, like the voice acting. That was really good. But this is, again, when it's an RPG, it struggles. When it's trying to be an RPG, that's when I think it struggles a lot. But yeah, I just wasn't interested really in any of it. But what about Skyrim? And one of the best parts of Skyrim, it has the best, in my opinion, the best world in Bethesda's gaming. Morrowind, probably fans would like to disagree with that, but Skyrim has, in my opinion, the richest world I have ever seen in an RPG. I haven't played Baldur's Gate 3 yet, but we'll see. But so far, one of the most richest worlds that I want to explore. I want to know more. Like, for example, I could watch videos all day of YouTubers going up to NPCs and seeing if they have a job. Basically, seeing how the economies are of these towns. I don't think any other game has done that to me before. And that's the beauty of Skyrim. The NPCs, they have a sleep cycle. Well, most of them do. They go to bed. They shut down. They have people that watch their stores. It's great. It feels like a living, breathing world. And yes, and there's tons of lore. Like, literally, Skyrim is packed full of books and books of lore. Like, literal books. Well, they're not actually the size of a book, but like, they have little tidbits of lore that you can learn about, and I love it when games do that. That's what I want in a fantasy game. Reminds me of the Lord of the Rings, where there's just tons and tons of lore, and people have made YouTube channels dedicated to talking about that. And there's only like 3 to 4 books. Like, okay, there's like only like 5-6 books that J.R.R. Tolkien ever released involving, that world. Middle Earth. And people are still making lore videos about it, and they still get like thousands and millions of views. And I think the Elder Scrolls is the same way. I think people are gonna watch and people are gonna make videos about it until the end of time. But yeah, I love Skyrim's world. What about Starfield? Oh boy, this is the weakest in my opinion of Starfield. Now you have tons of planets, so I think this really. So there is multiple planets with huge cities, but I feel like with these cities, they're huge. I feel like Bethesda really was focusing on how big can we make cities and not the people in them. Now, we can talk about how goofy some of them look later, but it's just that the shopkeepers, or the lady, for example, in this one shop in New Atlantis that sells me lockpicks. She's the same. She's out there day, night. She barely moves. She walks around the store a little bit. Yeah, and like it, I would have at least liked an explanation where they take, since it's the future, they take a pill or something that keeps them up all night. But no, it's just they stay up all day and all night, and you know, stay in the same place, and it's a bit distracting. It kind of takes you out. And now there is tons to do in these big cities, don't get me wrong, and they feel good, they feel populated, but I feel like the NPCs, when it comes to like the population, like they put tons of effort into the essential NPCs, the companions, and how big the cities are and how many NPCs can fit in it, but they forgot to do the little things. Sometimes the little things really make the game better for me. Now, of course, let's do the ranking. Fallout 3 or Fallout 4, last place, followed by Skyrim or Starfield, and then first place by a lot, Skyrim. Alrighty, so that is the end of the general tier. Now let's move on to the one-on-one tier now. I'll try not to ramble as long as I do, but no promises. And this tier will be shorter. Basically, you know, I want to do a reminder. It's basically where I take the game, I take only like, we'll start with Fallout 4. I take Fallout 4, like the combat, Fallout 4 and Skyrim, compare them, or Starfield and compare them, and then we'll do it with Skyrim. Now, the two things that Fallout 4 and Starfield have in common that Skyrim doesn't have is the building mechanics and the gunplay. Now, I don't know if the workshop is in there. I didn't really care for that stuff. It's good from what I've heard, and a lot of people like it, and I'll talk about that more in the Starfield only exclusive category. But yeah, so I'm just gonna start the building stuff, the outposts. I didn't really bother with either games with those. I know it's a review, but I kind of didn't really care. I don't really like, if I want to play an RPG, I get it. It's very you know, if you're into that stuff, building houses, yeah, play Fallout 4 and Skyrim or Starfield. Both of them have tons of that stuff. I heard a lot of people say that the outpost building in Starfield's better, but I'll take their word for it. But yeah, that just wasn't my cup of tea. But the gunplay, the action, that's where Fallout 4 is at its best. When it's an action game, oh boy, it's great. The action in this game is excellent. They took the action of Fallout and made it more like Call of Duty. They made it more like an actual first-person shooter. But this also comes at a cost, again, of the world. enemies feel way weaker. I'm not scared. The only enemy I'm scared of is the Death Claw. That's the only enemy I'm really scared of. And maybe the super mutants, but that's about it. Because the roaches are one hit kill. Unlike Fallout 3 where it takes like 50 BBs to kill one. It feels like anyways, but yeah, that's a video for another time, but yeah, but the combat's fun. But they did murder the VAT system. Don't think I forgot about that. They made it go in slow motion instead of freezing it like it's supposed to, but whatever. What about Starfield though? How's Starfield's hold up? It took Fallout 4's and it took it to the next level. Okay? There's multiple guns, but there's multiple tiers of guns. You got your common gun, your rare gun, your legendary gun, your it's like the Fortnite glitch, bruh. Kind of reminds me of Fortnite a little bit with the way they rank their guns, and you can mod the guns, making them more powerful, and it's great. The gunplay, the guns, and this stuff in Starfield is great. Just, they really took what Fallout 4 did and brought it to the next level. The action in this game is great. Also, I want to say though that Starfield is a great mix of good action. I think Bethesda definitely did learn a lesson from Fallout 4 where they had great action mixed with great RPG mechanics, definitely. It feels like they're actually one, they're equal, unlike in Fallout 4. But yeah, Fallout 4 is great action, but I feel like Skyrim's better guns, better weapons, better just ways to use, more clean, I guess I would say now. It's not gonna be like your Call of Duty levels of, if you're expecting a Call of Duty level shooter, then you're in the wrong place. It's an RPG after all, but I feel like it's tons better than Fallout 4 by a long shot. And also, I don't know if this is a Halo reference, but when you hold a melee weapon, like the your left hand comes out and like does this, and the same thing happens in Halo 2 when you hold the sword. I don't know what it's called. Fallout fans don't, or Halo fans don't crucify me, but the Halo sword, and it also has your left hand doing the same thing. I don't know if that's like a sly little Halo reference, but that's pretty cool if it is. Also like the Fortnite reference with the guns. Now, what about, okay, so Starfield I think did it better, but what about Skyrim? What does it have, and what Starfield and Skyrim have in common that Fallout 4 doesn't have? Powers. Now, believe it or not, as realistic as Starfield tries to be, it has some sci-fi fantasy elements. It has some fantasy with the powers. Yes, you can get superpowers, but the things I want to rank are how easy are the powers to get, and what do they do? What are the powers? Let's start with Skyrim. So, how do you get the powers in Skyrim? Now, I know you have magic in Skyrim, but I'm going to specifically talk about the dragon shouts, which is the main appeal of the game. So, how do you get dragon shouts? Well, randomly scattered around the map, there are these tablet things, a big wall of text, and there's a specific phrase in dragon's tongue, and it's glowing. When you walk up to it, you basically absorb it, and you get it. You get the powers. That's how you get it wrong. No, you can't get the powers just yet. You see, to unlock the power, you have to have the soul of a dragon. How do you get the soul of a dragon? You're probably wondering. Well, remember earlier, back in the beginning, when I said you absorb the soul of a dragon after you kill it? Well, that's with every dragon. You have to kill a dragon to absorb its soul. And if you accidentally started the DLC a little early like your boy did, sometimes you have a chance of the soul of a dragon getting stolen by, I think it was like the spirit of the first dragonborn or something. I don't even want to get into that. So even after the rare chance you find a dragon, you couldn't like get your soul taken away after you kill it. So it's chance really to unlock these powers. Now that makes it more special in my opinion, but it is a little irritating, especially if you want to collect them all. But what do these powers do? Now, I don't want to go through each power, we'll be here forever, but I want to generalize it. And you can't really generalize these powers though, because there are different things. Now they all have a theme of action. Most of them are for when you get in a fight. Like you can freeze time, you can scare your opponents. I don't want to spoil too many in case you haven't played it. You can do a lot with these powers in combat. They're not really useful outside of combat, but they are still fun to mess around with. What about Starfield's powers though? I really like the powers of Skyrim, but what about Starfield's powers? So how do you get them? Well, a lot easier. Basically, you talk to Vladimir, one of your companions at Constellation, and he will give you a map, or will give you, in your quest bar, where these powers are, so you can go to these different planets. You don't have to randomly look through every planet searching for powers. Then you go to this planet, you find this temple, you do some weird tribal ritual thing, and then you get these powers. And the powers, very simple. I like that. That way people, like all people, can have a chance to get these powers. Now, well, the powers though. The powers are all space themed, which makes sense. A lot of them are themed around moving gravity in some way. You can also teleport and stuff. I don't want to spoil too many, but crazy powers. It's just that I don't think, because I find myself not using the powers in Starfield as much in combat or just playing around that much, because some of them are just like finding all life. Like what? When am I ever going to use that? Like, maybe I will. I don't want to speak too soon, but I feel like some of the powers are very, not useless, but I don't feel like I'm going to be using them that often. And so, but with Skyrim, I feel like I've used every power I've gotten at least like 5 times. So I think the one with the better powers is Skyrim, but only by a little bit. If it wasn't for all the ridiculous randomness you had to find the powers, I feel like it would have gone, Starfield may have barely scraped above it, but it's just that the powers feel better. It actually feels like a reward when you get them. Also, if we want to go through the enemy AI in combat, just a little note here, but they actually fixed it. The enemies aren't stupid anymore. They don't just run at you even with guns. They actually hide and take cover, so that's a plus. Now then, we're at our final tier, and this is the exclusive tier, is what I call it. If you're wondering why I didn't compare graphics and art style, I have an idea for a video of just talking about the art style of Bethesda games in general. But yeah, I didn't want to do that. Besides, like it's just dumb because they all have an art style, but I will talk about Starfield's art style. Its art style is very NASA punk. If you don't know what NASA punk is, you probably all know what cyberpunk art style is. Basically, where it's a futuristic style where everyone has robotic limbs and stuff. And it's kind of the same thing, but it's a more realistic future. Like, the ships aren't like crazy like in Star Wars and Star Trek. It's more realistic, I would say, the art style is. And it has a heavy, you can tell it has a heavy emphasis on blues and whites and blacks and even reds. And very stylized, I would say. And of course, you can't talk about Starfield without talking about the 16 times the detail. Yes, this game is very detailed. Credit where credit is due. Todd Howard did not lie. This game is very detailed. And the environments are beautiful. And the essential NPCs look great as well. The non-essential NPCs are hit or miss, mainly miss, in my opinion. But besides that, the art style is great and the texture work is excellent. Like, this game brought out my inner photographer, and yeah, just excellent. Now let's talk about the ships in this game. The ships are very, I like the ships in this game. They're very good to control, they're very fun, and I've always had an issue with games that make ships overcomplicated, because then it's kind of like I'm not having fun. I mean, unless it's a game like Squadrons, where it's supposed to be, Star Wars Squadrons, where it's supposed to be complicated, but like, I can't have fun with those games because it's just like, what am I doing? I don't know what to do. Luckily though, Starfield is pretty simple. Basically, you have different, we'll call them levels, and then you have bars. You have a certain amount of bars for each ship if you don't customize it. And you have different levels, you know, like your laser levels, your missile levels, your engine levels, and your grav drive levels, basically hyperdrive for your Star Wars nerds out there. And you have what we'll call bars, and you have a certain amount, and basically you can decide how many goes in each thing, and the more bars you add to a level, the higher, you know, the more powerful that level is. And it's a easy to learn, hard to master thing. Like, you have to decide in a combat scenario, do I run away? Do I grav drive to another planet? Do I put all my bars in that and risk, you know, being destroyed if I don't? Or do I put all my bars in lasers and just start killing people? Okay, that sounded really bad out of context, but it's very decisive, and I really like that. I really like when games do that. Easy to learn, hard to master, but the gripe I do have, and also the customization for ships are crazy. I've seen people build Star Wars ships. Just go look it up. Just go look up Starfield Star Wars ships, and you'll find tons of videos just going over the different ships people have built based off Star Wars. It's crazy. But besides that, the only gripe I really have with the ships is that I feel like I don't use them as much as I want to. There's a lot of missions where, like, the only thing I've used for the ship really is, of course, going to different planets and shooting other ships and boarding ships. And I know that's what a spaceship is for, but I feel like there wasn't many missions where I was just in my spaceship and like weaving through asteroids and stuff. That would have been cool. Hopefully the Shattered Space DLC that's coming out later will fix that, because I mean, Shattered Space, I hope you get to do that. You know, maybe they'll add rovers as well. Ooh, that would be awesome. But yeah, that's probably my only gripe with the ships though. I feel like the ships are pretty good. You know, pretty solid. And of course, we got to talk about the planets. Now, the planets in Starfield, there are two different types of mentalities. Either the planets are bloody amazing, or they're bloody awful and boring. What do I say? I'm more leaning towards they're fun to explore, but I can see why people think they're boring. Now, the issue with making planets more realistic is that with being realistic, you have to make sacrifices. Like, for example, in Starfield, I love, like, for example, you can see, like, if you go into, you know, your laser, what I call it, your scanner vision, you can see how far something is, like how many miles, and, you know, and the same thing in the spaceships, you can see how far a planet is. It's so cool. I love that level of detail. And, yeah, and, like, it's great. But also, you have to make some sacrifices. And what sacrifices? Only 10% of planets have alien life. So only 100 planets have life. Now, I haven't run into this issue. There wasn't a point where I was like, oh, this planet doesn't have life. Oh well, it's trash. No, like, I didn't really mind. Because honestly, I think I had more fun exploring empty planets and seeing what's in them than I did with planets with life on it. Because I felt like the alien life would just constantly, like, get in the way. Either they're very hostile, or, you know, they're just in the way. And yeah, it's just, I enjoy that they added these creatures, and I'm glad they did. But, like, sometimes I feel like they get in the way for me personally. And also, by the way, side note, if you scan everything on a planet, it's called a planet survey. You can basically get a planet survey and you can sell it and get tons of credits. It's a great way to get easy credits if you have the patience. And planets have tons of minerals on there. They're great. And there's even one planet that has multiple biomes. And yeah, there are tons of different planets with tons of different environments. There's different gravities for each planet. You know, of course, different atmospheres. And it's just... And there's moons. You can even visit the moons. You can even visit the solar system. You can visit tons of thousands of planets. 1,000 planets. And the only, like, big complaint I would say I would have is... some of the temples, for example, and some of the structures that you find are kind of copy and pasted. I mean, that makes sense, kind of, because, you know, no one looks at the pyramids or the Mayan temples and say, wow, they really struggle to think of something there. But, like, I mean, I can see why people would not really like that, I would say. But yeah, besides that, I had a blast exploring planets, even the empty ones. And I've had a blast doing it. So yeah, that's just my opinion. Again, it's my opinion. If you don't like it, oh well. But yeah, that's it, I think. I think that's about it. Let's wrap this up with a final review. Let's end this review with reviewing all 3 games. Let's start with Fallout 4. I wanted to like Fallout 4. I'm gonna be honest with you. Fallout 4 just had so much promise, potential, but it just fell flat. It feels like a telltale action game. That's how I describe it, is a telltale action game. Basically, it's like, the dialogue options are very basic. And just the RPG stuff just falls flat. I want to play Fallout for an RPG. If you wanted to make an action Fallout game, just make a side game. Don't make it a mainline game. And so that kind of disappointed me. And but when the game focuses on just combat, it is the best, one of the best, you know, greatest combat in Bethesda. But when it focuses on the RPG stuff, it just falls flat, besides the voice acting. So, I'm gonna have... But I do recommend it for first-time Fallout fans. If you want to play... if you're not into RPGs that much, this is what I'm recommending. If you're more into action games and your Call of Duties, and you're wanting to get into Fallout, but you're scared you're not gonna understand RPGs, I recommend this game for you. But if you're an RPG nut, I do not recommend this game. I give it about a, let's say, it's not a bad game. Let's give it a 6.5 out of 10. Let's do a 6.6 out of 10. Good game. What it strives to do, action, it's great. But when it does RPG stuff, it just falls flat. Now Skyrim, and Skyrim was my first Bethesda RPG, and the first time I actually looked at RPGs as not turn-based. It was the first non-turn-based RPG I played, and I wasn't a big fan of turn-based. Every time I heard the word RPG, I thought of like Final Fantasy, and I was like, ugh. But then Skyrim came in, and I was like, whoa, there's a whole game that's like Lord of the Rings. And I remember, because I was watching 100 Days Survival VR, whatever, and I was like, wow, this is really cool. And yeah, I've loved the game ever since. It's a great game. But the reason why I felt like I was kind of harder on it than I would have been is because it's a game I love, I'm kind of harder on the games I really love. Like, I gotta be honest, the combat is, I gotta take my rose-tinted glasses off a bit. The combat is very basic, and the game can be broken in every single way. And the main campaign's kind of mid, but everything else it's stellar at. The world building, the dialogue, for the most part, the acting, each the same two voice actors gives it their all. It's great. If you want to get invested in a fantasy RPG, there's maybe BG3. If you don't want that turn-based stuff, I recommend Skyrim. Bloody excellent game. I want to give it a 9 out of 10 so bad. 8.9 out of 10. I love that. We'll meet in the middle here. Bloody excellent game. 100% recommend it. And all these games, by the way, have excellent mods. If you want to play good mods, go play each of these games. Specifically Skyrim, though, and Fallout 4 do have the better mods right now. But Starfield's getting them, so. What about Starfield? The game you came here to see. Yeah. This game, going into it, I had the expectations that when I heard about this game and I heard what it was going to do, I researched everything to see if this was the game for me. To see if I was going to like this game. Like, every little inkling of news we got about Starfield, I was the first one to read about it. And then, finally, came out, and it was bloody excellent, in my opinion. It was everything I thought it was going to be. I think if you go into this expecting a Bethesda RPG, you're going to be thrilled. You're going to have a blast. You're going to have a blast. But if you're going in there expecting a space simulator or, Scam Citizen, or, No Man's Sky level experience, then you're going to be disappointed. I think if you don't like Bethesda RPGs, you're probably not going to like this. But as someone who likes their RPGs, this was definitely a game that impressed me. It actually surprised me. It was better than I thought it was going to be. I knew the facts going in, and I think that really helped. Know the facts, I think. Don't just watch my review. Watch and read other reviews. Go in learning the facts first, and then make your own opinion. But I knew the facts going in, and this is probably, whether you like it or not, you have to admit, it's definitely a step in the right direction, especially from Fallout 4. I give this game an 8.5. Heck, you know what? I give it an 8.7 out of 10. Bloody excellent game. Go play it. I recommend it if you have a powerful enough PC. And stick around for mods too. They're updating the game. If you have problems, They'll probably update it. They're fixing this game to this day. And it actually launched relatively bug-free. 8.7 or 8.8 out of 10. Great game. Excellent RPG. Definitely gonna be a one I'm gonna play from here till whenever, till I'm 75. But yeah. So in closing, I have a cool video you guys should watch. It's in the description. It's talking about how the 10th planet, which was going to be a Bethesda RPG before Starfield, it looks great. I recommend the video. Thank you for watching all the way to this point. But yeah, if you want to go watch that documentary about the 10th planet, it will be a link in the description. But thank you for staying this long. Thank you. If you enjoyed the review, share it. That would be nice. And yeah, I know this video is probably, I don't know what's going to happen when I release it, honestly. I don't know if it's going to get tons of hate or tons of love. But yeah, don't be hateful in the comments. Please, please, please. That's the last thing I want. No hate. It's all my opinion. Just like you're entitled to your opinion, I'm entitled to mine. Be respectful of other people's opinions, please. And yep, this is the end of the review. So I will see you all later. Bye.